It's dinner time and I'm gonna be making some carnitas using my Dutch oven. And I'm also gonna show you how to make corn tortillas from scratch. Not scratch where you like grind the corn and stuff, but using masa harina flour and adding some water and making it fresh off the griddle. So let's get started. So I've got my Dutch oven preheated on medium high. I'm just going to add some good old pasture-raised lard that I rendered from my bacon. Always save that bacon fat. I've chopped up 4 pounds of pasture-raised shoulder roast just into, irregular 2-inch chunks. Doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to slow cook and we're going to shred it. We're going to sear these bad boys, get them nice and brown. And we're just going to do one layer at a time. So we're going to be working in batches. And these are the spices I'm going to add to the pork. So in terms of total amount, we've got a tablespoon of ground cumin, a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 2 teaspoons of unrefined Redmond real salt. I've also got a tablespoon of achiote powder. This is just to give it a beautiful red color. It doesn't really have flavor. You can totally omit that. I've got some garlic powder. I've also got a tablespoon of chili powder. And we've got some onion powder as well. So I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of each spice right on the meat. Let's give it a flipperoo. Oh yeah. Now that all the sides are seared, I'm going to transfer this first batch to a bowl. I'm going to add some more lard. If you don't have lard, you could totally use tallow, any kind of animal fat, coconut oil even. Just don't use no vegetable oils or processed seed oils. Don't want none of that toxic stuff. So we're gonna do a second batch here. If the pot is getting too hot, adjust accordingly, lower the heat if you need to. Now I'm gonna add the rest of the spices. Get it all in there. So the second batch looks nice and seared. I'm going to transfer it to the bowl. So you can see we've got the bits and goodies at the bottom of the pan. We're gonna deglaze it. I've got 2 cups of homemade chicken stock. You could use store-bought, beef broth, whatever kind of broth you got, even water if that's all you have. We're gonna pour that in. And I'm going to scrape the bottom of the pan with a wooden spoon. If you have a enameled Dutch oven like this, you want to treat it like kind of like a nonstick pan by using a wooden spoon. You don't want to use anything metal to be scraping the bottom. Now once I've scraped all the bits and pieces, I'm going to add the pork right back into the pot. Make sure you get all the juices that accumulate at the bottom of that bowl as well, that you transferred the pork into. Now we're just gonna try to get these snug into the liquid. Now I'm also going to add a few splashes of apple cider vinegar. Now I'm gonna crank up the heat back to high and bring this to a boil. Once this comes to a boil, I am going to cover it. I've got the oven preheated to 350 degrees. Now we're gonna pop the Dutch oven right in. And we're gonna cook this for about 2.5 to 3 hours or until the pork is tender. So this gets even funner. I've got 3 cups of Bob's Red Mill masa harina. I just keep this stocked all the time in my house to make fresh tortillas. Making fresh tortillas and eating them, it's so much better than just buying corn tortillas from the store. It's just so much more earthy and flavorful. But also, if you wanted to make even masa from scratch, I have a video for that where you actually get dried corn and add calcium lime to it, but we're gonna be using this today. So I've got 3 cups here, and to this 3 cups, I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So I'm gonna add some hot water. I'm just gonna eyeball it. For 3 cups, you kind of want to start with 1 cup of hot water first. And then I'm just going to give this a stir. I don't want to add all the water at once because I just want to gradually add it. So the masa flour is absorbing that liquid, so I'm going to add some more. Give that a stir. If it looks a little too wet, you can always add a little more masa flour. And 3 cups might seem like a lot, but I love making enough to have leftovers, to have cooked tortillas leftover that I can just reheat the next day. So the dough should be firm and springy, not so sticky. However, if it feels a little more wet than you think and you don't want to add more masa, we're going to actually let this sit for 1 hour, and you'll be able to see if the liquid gets absorbed more as we let it sit. So now we're going to let this rest for 1 hour. I'm just going to cover it with a damp towel. So I've let my masa rest for an hour. We're going to uncover it. I've got a tortilla press that I got at like El Super. You can totally find it at Vallarta, even at your local Latin market. You can also get these online. They actually make cool wooden ones too. But yeah, this was like under 20 bucks, super cheap. So I'm actually going to line my press with some parchment paper. You can use wax paper. You could use cut up Ziploc bag. I just like using this. So what I'm gonna do is just get a ball of masa. So this is like a golf size ball. So I want to show you how big this golf size is going to be. Put it right in the center. Press hard. Oh, okay. So I'm going to carefully peel the tortilla off. So you'll know if it's the right consistency. If it's too dry, it's going to break and not hold. If it's too wet, it's going to fall apart too and not hold a form. So I've got my griddle preheated on high. Now I'm gonna smack this straight down. You wanna hear a little sizzle. After about a minute, you're gonna know when to flip your tortilla when it comes off completely, like there's nothing sticking to it. So right when it can come off easily, that's how you know when it's ready to be flipped. We're gonna leave this on for another minute. So I have this cute little tortilla basket that one of my old coworkers gave me from Mexico. Super cute. Just make sure you line it with a damp towel. I'm gonna take this off the griddle and we're gonna place it right in there. And then we're gonna continue to make some more. So then just cover it as you cook the rest. If you don't have one of these, you could totally just put it on a plate and then just cover it with a big bowl. All right, so we're gonna take this out of the oven. It's been about 3 hours. Let's have a look. So you can see the liquid has evaporated a bit. Oh yeah, so look at that. It just totally shreds. That is what you want. It's so tender, I can even just press my fork right into the chunks and it totally breaks apart. So after you shred the pork, there's a few things you could do. Now, if you still have like a lot of liquid left, this is where I would turn up the heat on the stovetop and let all of the pork absorb, most of the liquid until it's evaporated. You can always save the liquid, and just store it. If you're not going to eat all this, store some of the shredded pork with the liquid so when you reheat it, it's not too dry. So we've got the beautiful pork, nice and shredded. Cannot wait to have a bite. I'm going to squeeze some lime. All those seasonings come together just right. It's so much healthier to cook at home. You're controlling the ingredients, you're using quality ingredients, and you're not having any toxic processed seed oils. So when I say that, I'm talking about the 3 C's and the 3 S's that I always tell my clients to avoid out of their whole life, their lifestyle. So that would be corn oil, canola oil, cottonseed oil, soybean oil, safflower oil, and sunflower oil. Restaurants are going to use a blend of those. It's just cheaper. They might even use Rice brand. And if they say they're using olive oil, we know how expensive olive oil is. So they're definitely using a olive oil blend, which is most likely blended with some vegetable oils. So much better, so much healthier to cook at home, and so fulfilling and satisfying. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. Please click subscribe and the notification bell so you can get notified when I release new videos. Happy eating!